Hi, 7th graders. We're on lesson 11.3, and our learning target is constructing and interpreting circle graphs. We are on page 582 in your textbook, so make sure to follow along because there's a lot of diagrams and pictures that you can be looking at as well as on the screen. So we've talked about histograms, so now a different way to display our data is using a circle graph, and circle graphs can be used to compare parts of a data set to the whole set. The percents in a circle graph add up to 100%. So when we're looking at circle graphs and when we're constructing circle graphs, we need to know the percent out of the whole number, and that's what we use to make our circle graph. So we always find the percentage of whatever the data is out of the whole, and then we're able to make our circle graph. So if we look at our example, there's a table that is titled Behaviors Americans Find Most Annoying at a Movie Theater. And you can see that all of these things that they find annoying are categorized by their percentage. So 73% of people said that the most annoying thing at a movie theater is someone talking on a cell phone during a movie, as well as 3% said someone loudly eating popcorn or some other snack during a movie. This is out of 1,100 U.S. moviegoers. So we're already given our percents. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to make our circle graph. So the first thing that we want to do is find out how many degrees of the circle is each percentage going to take up. So there are 360 degrees in a circle. When we make our circle graph, each part of the circle, the percentages need to add up to 100%, but all of the parts of the circle also need to add up to 360 degrees, which I know is confusing right now, but once we do a couple, it will hopefully make a little more sense. So talking on a cell phone, remember 73% of people were talking on a cell phone. So that means that 73% of our circle that we're going to make is going to be someone talking on a cell phone during a movie. And because the circle is 360 degrees, we need to take, why isn't this letting me move? We need to figure out what is 73% of 360. And if you remember, to take a percentage of a number, we change the percent to a decimal and then multiply it by 360. So this tells us that 263 degrees of our circle that we create is going to be for someone talking on a cell phone during a movie. So we do that with each one. A ringing cell phone, 10% said, so we would go 0.10 times 360, or we get 36 degrees. Same with talking to seatmate, and saving seats, and eating loudly. Remember, 4% and 3%, you need to add that 0 after the decimal. So we would go 0.04 times 360, 0.03 times 360. So here are all of our degrees. So we know by looking at this already that the biggest part of our circle is going to be someone talking on a cell phone, because the majority of the people answered that way. But we also can see that the highest degree, much higher than everything else, is talking on a cell phone. So make sure that it all adds up and it makes sense. You could also, instead of just multiplying, you could also set it up as a proportion. So 73%, remember, is always 73 out of 100 equals, and then we would go x over 360 degrees. So you could solve it that way as well. So now that we have all of our degrees, we make our circle. And we already have a circle made, so I'm just going to show you what our circle graph would look like after, and I'll talk about it. And then on the next page, I'm actually going to create a circle and show you how we actually make it. So we're going to use a compass to draw a circle and a radius, and then we use a protractor to draw an 11-degree angle. So they're starting with the smallest angle, which would represent someone eating loudly. Then from the new radius, you draw the next angle and you repeat. So here's our circle. Oops. So here's my circle, and my radius is this line, the line between the blue and the red is where we started with our radius. So we started there, and then I took my protractor and I drew an 11-degree angle, which went to the line between the purple and the red. So if the blue wasn't even there, we would have a line, and then we have our 11 degrees. Okay? And then for saving seats was 14 degrees. So I went from my new radius, this line, I made a 14-degree angle, and I created my new section for saving seats. Okay? And then we had 36 degrees, so I made a 36-degree angle for talking to seatmates, another 36-degree angle for a ringing cell phone, and then the huge one, the 263 degrees angle for talking on a cell phone. Notice how we have our title at the top of our circle graph, and we have each of the parts of the circle labeled, but we label them with the category and the percentage. So even though we're using our protractor and we're measuring the degrees to create our parts, we're labeling it with the percentage. So now we can see, yep, this makes sense. 73%, so almost 3/4 of our circle is for talking on a cell phone. And 3%, yep, that's our smallest chunk, so that makes sense. So we always want to look at it and make sense. And make sure it makes sense. And when we look at a circle graph that's already done, that's how we can also interpret data. If we were just given the circle graph, we would be able to look at the different sections and figure out how people answered just by looking at the parts of the circle. Okay, so here's another one. The table gives the percentage share of the top 5 wireless subscribing countries in the world. Construct a circle graph to represent the data. So I'm going to do China, and then I want you to pause me and do the rest of the countries on your own. So we find the percent of the circle. So even though there's not a percent behind each of these numbers, we know that it's a percentage. So remember to find the percent of a circle. Oop, I want a new there. We would take 19.3, multiply it by 360 because there's 360 degrees in the circle, and we would get 19.3%. So then I need to rewrite it as 0.193 times 360, and you would get 0.193 times 360 equals 69.48 degrees. Let me make that a little bit smaller. Okay? And we want to write it as degrees, and I don't have a degree marker, so we'll make a little dot there. Okay, so pause me and do USA, Russia, Japan, Brazil, and other. Okay, so you're going to take each one. So USA, we would go 0.99 times 360. Oops. And we get not 0.99, 0.099. hopefully you caught my mistake there. 0.099 times 360, and we get 35.64 degrees. Russia would be 0.056 times 360, and you should have 20.16 degrees. Japan, 0.046 times 360, 16.56. Brazil, 0.041 times 360, and we get 14.76. And then the other is 0.565 times 360, 203.4 degrees. Okay, so now we are going to use a protractor to create and find the degrees of a circle. So we are going to start with 14.76, so for Brazil. So here's my circle, and here's my radius. So you can draw your radius anywhere on the circle. So we're going to start with there. And Brazil, being our smallest, we are going to, so you'll take your protractor, and I'm going to make a section that is 14.4, so about right there. Okay? And then I'm going to, why is this not working? Oh, there we go. Okay, so then I would label that as Brazil. And we are going to do this way in more detail in class, so I'm not going to label all of my parts. But now I'm going to take my new one, which hopefully this stays and works for me, and I'm going to find Japan. So I'm going to now start on this line. Nope, it's not working for me. And I would use my protractor, and I would make a new section that is 16.56 degrees. So from this line, I would go up 16 degrees. So we would have, there's 10, so we'd be actually about right to 150. What is going on? So my next section then would be right up to here. Okay? And then I would use that line to create my new section and my new section. And in the end, hopefully, and because we have decimal points, but in the end, we would hopefully have a section that is 203 degrees, and that would create and finish our whole circle. Okay? We are going to do much more of these in class tomorrow, so we'll work with our protractors and do more of that, because that's the trickiest part, is the creating the degrees. Okay, so when percents are not known, we first must determine what part of the whole each item represents. So construct a circle graph of the data in the histogram at the right. So if we want to construct a circle graph, we have our data. Remember, we need to know percents. So we would find the total number of countries. So we would add, using our histograms, we would add up 12 plus 3 plus 5 plus 1 plus 4 plus 1, and we get 26. Then we take each interval, the number of countries in each interval, and then we would divide that by 26 to get our percentage. So interval 1 to 5 had 12 countries, so 12 divided by 6 is 0.46, or 46%. 6 to 10 had 3 countries. Right here we can see 3. 3 divided by 26 tells us that it's 12%. Okay, so there's our percents. Now we need to take our percents, remember, and multiply them by 360 to get our degrees. So we start with percent, and then we multiply it by 360 to find out how many degrees. And then we take the degrees and we use a compass and a protractor and we draw our circle. So interval 1 through 5 is about 166 degrees. So if I was to use my protractor, I would see that this reddish pinkish section is 166 degrees. As well as 26 to 30 is our smallest, or one of the smallest, is only 14 degrees. So this section right here is 14 degrees. Remember, each part of this circle, all of these parts, their degrees need to add up to 360. Their percentages need to add up to 100%. So the whole circle is 100% and 360 degrees. If it doesn't, that means that we made a mistake somewhere. Okay, I promise I'm almost done. So if we have foreign-born residents of the U.S., we have the region of the birth, so the country that they were born, and then the number of people. What percent of people are born in North America? And then how many degrees of a circle graph would the people born in Asia take up? So I want you to pause me and answer both of these questions. So the percent of people born in North America, so what you need to do is you need to add up all of the number of people. So, total number of people is 31,107,573 people. So then you would take the number of people in North America, which is 829,442, and you need to divide it by 31,107,573 people. So the number of people born in North America is, so after you divide it, is approximately 0.03, which equals 3%. How many degrees of a circle graph would the people born in Asia take up? So you need to do the exact same thing. You need to take 8,226,254, divide it by 31,107,573. So we would get the percentage of people that were born in Asia is 0.26, which equals 26%. And then we would take, so how many degrees of a circle graph? So we would take 26% of 360, which equals 0.26 times 360, and we get 93.6. We'll add our little degree symbol so we have our correct label. So 93.6 degrees of our circle would be for Asia. And then our last thing here is use the circle graph at the right to describe the makeup of the school enrollment of persons 3 years old or 3 years or older who are enrolled in school in the U.S. So we can see we have our tables, or our title, school enrollment of persons 3 years old or older enrolled in school, and we have our different sections, and we look at it and we know the majority of students are in elementary school, grades 1 through 8. The smallest amount of kids enrolled in school is kindergarten. We can see that college and high school is about the same amount, and we can also see that more than 3/4 of the total enrolled are in a pre-K through 12 program. So nursery school, kindergarten, elementary school, and high school, if we cut out this teal part right here, the rest would be about 3/4 of the circle. Okay, you can look back in your book. I'm sorry that this video is so long and we still have so much to go over in class tomorrow. Make sure you go on to NICU and take the 11-3 NICU quiz. Have a super evening.